Hi, my name is Laura Rausch. I live here in Michigan. I guess I'm here to tell you my story, which I have to tell in kind of a reverse chronological order. And this is to give you an idea of how hard it can be to know, maybe what has happened to you. It's a puzzle for a lot of us, and it was a puzzle for us. In 2008, my daughter, who was my second daughter, was turning 1, and I had vaccinated her on schedule up to that point. Going back a little bit, I was told with my first daughter not to vaccinate, and my feeling was our government would never do anything to harm our children. So, that was kind of what my wall that I put up, and I just went about my business. Even though I may have noticed things, but cognitive dissonance. So my second daughter, when she turned 1, she had been vaccinated up to that point, on schedule, like I said, and she had like bloody stool and things like that, a dairy intolerance, but she had never been actually sick. The only sickness she had ever had was from, turns out, her vaccine. So she would get a big knot in her leg every time she actually developed a birthmark like scar from it. So, and as I've learned, that is an autoimmune reaction. But when she turned 1 and had her MMR, within a couple days, she was very, very sick. She started throwing up every other day. And we couldn't figure out why. I took her to the doctor. The doctor looked at her. She had a rash all over her body, and she says, "Oh, well, that's just part of this, it's just a virus, no big deal." Well, as the days went on, it was every day, and then it was every other day with her vomiting, and so I took her back, and she says, "Well, maybe she has a blockage, that's why she's vomiting. Maybe something's clogging her up." So we took her in and got a x-ray to see if she was clogged up. She wasn't clogged up, so that was fine. Go home, nothing there, still throwing up. So here come my boys. Anyway, at that point I took her back in, and I said, "She's still throwing up," and hi honey, you gotta be quiet.
I'm here.
Okay, you gotta be quiet though. These are my unvaccinated ones. Anyway, so she didn't have a clog. Then they found. Yeah, but we gotta be quiet. She had a little rash all over her body, and then she goes, "Oh, that rash, that's petechia," which means she had internal bleeding. So then they had me draw some platelets. They turned out to be okay. There was all these tests, nothing was helping. She finally was tapering off. It had been a month. She had lost 3 pounds. She went from 20 pounds to 17 pounds. So at that point, I figured out what had happened, and I started just taking care of business and taking care of her. I fed her anything she would eat, which of course was all the white foods, the crackers, cookies, the oatmeal, yogurt. She would eat yogurt, but it had to be, of course, soy yogurt, because she had dairy intolerance. So,
do you want one?
No, thank you. And at that point, I think we looked back and realized that my other daughter, who had been extremely advanced for her age, and had all of a sudden changed between preschool and kindergarten, her personality completely changed, and we couldn't figure out what had happened. She went from being, polite and kind and always happy and very talkative to being, melancholy, having trouble in school. She was falling behind, whereas before she was the most advanced kid. But we were thinking it's the teacher. We were thinking it's the program. We were thinking it was everything. But at some point we realized, when I went back, I keep a journal, and I realized that she'd gotten really sick after her 5-year vaccinations. And she has short-term memory loss, and she has migraines, and she started having tantrums at 5. Like, what kid starts having tantrums at 5? Like, you have them when you're 2, not 5. Not when you're 15. She's 15 and she still has tantrums, where she can't control herself, and she sits on the ground and tears out her hair, and she gets no diagnosis, she gets no help. The school has finally allowed her to have like a cheat sheet because she has no memory. She can't remember anything.
I don't know.
I don't know either. So that's been really hard. But we look back and realized that was happening there. So at that point, I decided I wasn't going to vaccinate him until he was 18 months old. I was going to wait. So, here I'm still thinking, I'm going to wait. And the week before I was going to vaccinate him, I met somebody whose son had become autistic from from their vaccinations. And she said she knew within 12 hours. And actually, you spoke with her earlier today, and that was my friend Michelle. And we had done karaoke and stuff together. I didn't know her story, and then she told me her story, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was going to take JP this week to get his first vaccines. And about 4 days later, so that was Saturday, so Tuesday, I called the YMCA to ask about getting Cora in for preschool, and I said, we don't vaccinate because she had a reaction, and the girl says, we're totally fine with that. We completely understand, because my sister, her daughter, had that happen, and she said within 12 hours. And so the universe spoke to me and said, you know, in those 4 days, don't do this. And I did not vaccinate him, and I am absolutely sure that if I had, I know that he would have been lost. And he's such an advanced little guy that, I mean, he's at 4th grade level, and I homeschool him, and that's why he is here with us today and not in public school, because he's so far ahead. And I'm very blessed with that. And then, of course, I learned even more, and I got this little guy, and he had the K, the vitamin K. He's had nothing, and I have 2 healthy boys. But my other daughter, she still has gut issues. She has cyclical vomiting, migraines. And even after all that and being so involved, I look back, it's so funny that I didn't realize this. I went to Dr. Tent, which maybe some people might know. He's local here. And I have what's called chronic fatigue syndrome. And I was diagnosed with that when I was 17. And I didn't realize I was lucky that I had a doctor that knew what to do. And he gave me homeopathics, and I was able to be recovered. But I missed my entire senior year. And because of that, it completely changed my life and my career path and everything that I was going to do. And my liver almost shut down. I almost died. And I went recently to Dr. Tent, and I said, I have chronic fatigue syndrome, and I need a new doctor because I'm not trusting the old conventional doctors. They couldn't really help me. And my doctor has passed away, and I need some help. And he says, well, did you get this from getting Epstein-Barr? And I said, yes, I did. That's what I got, was Epstein-Barr, and that's when it all happened. And he says, did you get that after getting travel vaccines?
Yeah.
And I about passed out. And this is after all this had happened, and I never put 2 and 2 together. And my doctor then told me that I have a severe autoimmune disorder and I can never be vaccinated again. And I took that to heart, and thank God I did. But he never told me that was why I got sick. And maybe if I had known, I wouldn't have vaccinated my kids. I don't know. But at least he was able to heal me, and that was good, you know, that I was able to get through it. But it does make me mad that I didn't know. And anyway, it changed my whole life. And you know, my kids are lucky. They're functioning. They're good. They're not. They don't have a diagnosis of autism. I know a lot of kids that do, you know, but it's still hard for my daughter.
I have a friend that has autism, and his name's Logan.
Yeah, Logan does.
That's lovely that you call him your friend. Thank you.
Yeah, he's a really good boy. So I'm really, really blessed, and I'm blessed that I have a husband that supports us and knows what's happened too, because I know a lot of families don't have that. Sometimes there's tension in the couples, but anyway, because of all that, you know, that's why I started my awareness group, because I know that I have more energy. You know, I'm not that person who's so bogged down with doing all these things to help their children. I have a little more freedom, so I'm taking that freedom and trying to help people understand, because it can be very nebulous, and it can be something that's not, you don't necessarily know, you know, what's going on. And the only thing that's really crazy is, you know, my kids have had the measles, and this guy got it at Disney World 2 years before the outbreak, almost exactly. And he got it so light that I didn't know that that's what it was. So the only thing that we can think of is that he got it from a shudder, that it wasn't like a full-blown measles virus that he got. But then he got it, and that's when we realized what it was. And he was 5 months old, and he got the measles full-blown. Totally fine. That was nothing. Went through it 2 weeks.
That's what gave him allergies.
But that's what gave him allergies. And after that, he got dairy, egg, and peanut allergies. Now, how many people do you know get the measles?
Not me.
How many people do you know get the measles vaccine at one and then have dairy, egg, and peanut allergies? So So, I mean, I'm not a scientist. I don't know why, but obviously it's something to do with that virus and the kids being little, and I don't know. So, an interesting story. So, anyway, if you're scared of the measles, don't be. The measles was nothing. It was a ugly rash. Comes off and...
Yeah, I mean, I remember having measles.
Yeah.
And wondering what the fuss was about, and loving the fact I had a week of school.
Well, it's like when you have the rash, you're not even sick anymore. You're sick the week before, you know.
I have to say that mumps was not very pleasant. But
Yeah.
I just remember everything echoing and being really quite petrified.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's kind of when I had my Epstein-Barr. My neck swelled up like this.
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell everybody I look like Arnold Schwarzenegger on
It's
the
really
face of Mars.
interesting you got
I was
that.
like,
Billy tested, my son Billy tested positive to Epstein-Barr.
yeah.
We had to do a lot of work to get that virus out of him.
Yeah.
Antiviral and everything.
Well,
So that probably
Well, what's interesting is, you know, you're exposed. You can be no, it's not yours. You can be exposed to that, and it lays dormant in your system, kind of like the HPV virus does. It's very similar in that it lays dormant in your body, and unless something activates it, a lot of times it just goes away. So chances are he was exposed, and then it was activated. Hey, you got to stay away from that, buddy. So, you know, that's what they're finding, is that it just, because it basically shuts down your immune system it makes it just kind of, you know, go all haywire. So we definitely learned that, you know, natural immunity is better, and, you know, hopefully over time, I don't know, my daughter's getting better, my oldest. I mean, she's really the one that, at one point, she was having several tantrums a day, like an hour long. And it was really hard, and no one would believe me. And that was another thing. I would take these videos, and I would take them to the psychologist and stuff, and she'd take them to the psychiatrist, and they'd go, "Oh, that's normal. That's normal." I'm like, "This is not normal."
You really need to stay away from psychiatrists, please. They're really not good for us. There's no place for vaccine injuries. They'll just drug her.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing, is I didn't want to drug her, and it got to the point where we were so tired. They did give her Strattera. This is interesting. They gave her Strattera after about 5 minutes at the neurologist, because I was convinced she had a brain tumor. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And they gave her Strattera, and she was like glassy-eyed for like a week. And she seemed calmer, and we were like, okay, well, maybe this is working. And then all of a sudden, she went crazy. She got way worse, really fast. So I immediately stopped it, and for a month, that was when she had the tantrums several times a day for about a month after she got off that stupid Strattera. I would never, you know, so I made every mistake, you know. I've learned everything the hard way. So I guess I could just look at everybody and go, you know, I used to be there. I did that. Been there, done that, you know.